Nidrabi, and sleep. Tat, that. Nibadnati, binds. Parat, O son of parrot. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O son of parrot, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which binds the conditioned soul. Purport. In this verse, the specific application of the word to is very significant. This means that the mode of ignorance is a very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. The mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, by development of knowledge, one can understand what is what. But the mode of ignorance is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance becomes mad, and a madman cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature. Vastu itatma jnana varakam viparyaya jnana janakam tama. Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand a thing as it is. For example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died, and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die. So death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. This is madness. In their madness, they are very reluctant to make advancement in spiritual understanding. Such people are very lazy. When they are invited to associate for spiritual understanding, they are not much interested. They are not even active like the man who is controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptom of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than is required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient, but a man in the mode of ignorance sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the mode of ignorance. So we'll just recite the invocation, the Mangala Charan. If you want to join in, it's on page 1, I think. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Caitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahajatam Sahagana Raghunathamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakhagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vatamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gohangi Bhade Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Mevacha Patitanam Bhavaneyo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Garam Yakripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. So, we're reading from chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. And you may remember, but I'll say it again for those who either don't remember or didn't know, at the moment we're studying the Bhagavad Gita thematically, according to the Bhakti Shastri qualification. So the 16 themes that we're studying, does anyone know what is this first theme that we're studying? So far we've done about maybe 8 verses. There's 13 verses in this first theme. Does anyone remember? Very good. Yeah, the soul and transmigration. This is the first thing.
So how does this fit in with that?
Well, that's what we're going to explain in the class. Questions at the end. No butting in. So that's right. This theme, the first theme that we're studying, is the soul and transmigration, which, as we explained in the first class, is like the ABC of spiritual life. In other words, first we have to know who we are, and we have to know where we're going. So the soul and transmigration. So Dan and Jai raised a good question. How does this verse fit into that? That's a good question. Well, that's what we're going to try and explain. So in essence, today's class, or this verse, relates to this theme because it's speaking primarily about the mode of ignorance. There's 3 different modes of nature. We're going to explain this as the class goes on. But the mode of ignorance acts upon the living entity, or acts upon the soul in such a way that we become ignorant of who we are. We don't know who we are. We think we're the body. We don't realise we're the soul. And because we think we're the body, therefore we act in ways which are against our own self-interest, which bind us to this material world and therefore continue our repetition of birth and death in this material world. So that's how it fits in, the soul and transmigration. So, just like the example is there that if you have a bird in a cage, you can spend all your time polishing the cage, but if you forget to feed the birds, you've missed the point. At the same time, you have to keep the bird cage clean. And I used to stay at a temple in Scotland, Caitanya, we used to have parrots. Actually, in Vrinda Devi's room, we had 3 parrots. And sometimes on a Sunday, it used to be my service to clean Vrinda Devi's room, including cleaning the parrot cages. And if anyone's ever kept parrots before, or I don't know, budgerigars or canaries or something like that, they can get quite messy. So cleaning the cage, it used to take ages. So it is important to keep clean the cage. But if you only ever clean the cage and you forget to feed the birds, what's the point? You've missed the point. The bird's going to die. So in the same way, because we're ignorant of our real self-identity, we're ignorant of being the soul, we think we're the body, therefore we act in ways which are satisfying or beneficial for the body, but not necessarily beneficial or satisfying for the soul. And this is a result of the mode of ignorance. And because of this basic misconception, this misidentification, therefore this is what causes us to keep taking birth again in the material world. This is the result of the mode of ignorance. So Srila Prabhupada, he begins the purport by saying that, he said, the mode of ignorance is a very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. So I was thinking about this. Why is the mode of ignorance peculiar for the embodied soul? I'm going to put that out to the audience so you can join in, feel free. Why is the mode of ignorance peculiar for the soul?
Because it's the opposite of full knowledge.
Yeah, it's the opposite of full knowledge. In other words, the soul is comprised of 3 elements. It's Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So Chit means it's full of knowledge. What were you going to say, Sharadi?
Exactly that.
Exactly the same thing.
Knowledge is diametrically opposed to ignorance.
Yeah, it's the very opposite of who we are. So therefore it's very peculiar, because if we're full of knowledge, when we're under the mode of ignorance, we become full of the opposite of knowledge. Ignorance. Srila Prabhupada, sometimes he would explain that he would say the word, and he would emphasize the word, not ignorance, he would say ignorance. We're ignoring who we really are. So it's a very peculiar condition. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada says that the mode of ignorance is the complete opposite of the mode of goodness. Because in the mode of goodness, one cultivates knowledge. But actually, in the mode of ignorance, one loses all of one's knowledge. So instead of Satchid Ananda, one becomes Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. Instead of being full of knowledge, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss, one becomes temporary, full of suffering, and full of ignorance. And this is our position in the material world. So, it's very peculiar. And the idea is that the soul by its very nature is pure. Just like the rain. In Newcastle at the moment we're getting very random weather. It's pouring with rain one day, and then it's sunny the next. I have my tomato plants at the front of my house. They don't know what to do. 1 minute they're getting dried up, they're getting scorched, and then the next minute they're in a deluge. So when the rain comes from the clouds, is it pure or is it impure? It's pure, isn't it? Okay, we could talk about acid rain or something. That's something different. But when the rain itself falls from the cloud, it's pure. Krishna has an arrangement. We studied this in geography when we were younger. Of course, the sun, it evaporates the water on the sea, and then it rises, it forms clouds, and then that rain, the sea, of course, is very salty. We wouldn't want to drink that salty water. But through the process of evaporation and forming clouds and then precipitation, then the rain falls and it's pure again. So similarly, the conditioned soul, not the conditioned soul, the unconditioned soul, is pure by its very nature. There are some religious traditions that espouse the philosophy that the soul by its nature is impure. They say that, they speak about original sin. But of course our understanding of original sin is that we've turned our face from Krishna, Bahya Mukha. We've turned our face. And that's like very disrespectful. When I was younger, if my mum was telling me off on my way here, I was speaking to my mum on the phone. But when I was younger, if I was a naughty boy, sometimes I would turn my face and she would say, "Hey, look at me when I'm speaking to you. It's very rude." So we've turned our face from Krishna, as explained, Bahya Mukha. We've turned our face away from Krishna. And we've said, "No, Krishna, I want to go to the material world and I want to enjoy." So Krishna, he didn't want us to come here, but he facilitates our desire because the soul has minute independence. And ultimately that independence is either to choose to take shelter of Krishna or to take shelter of Krishna's material energy. But the result of taking shelter of Krishna is that we are Satchidananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. And the result of taking shelter of Krishna's material energy, or Maya, is that we're Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. We're temporary, full of suffering and full of ignorance. So, when the raindrop falls, it's pure. But when it hits the ground, then what happens? It mixes with the mud, and it mixes with so many different things. It becomes contaminated. So in the same way, the soul is completely pure in its liberated state, but when it comes into the material atmosphere, it becomes contaminated by these three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Rajagun is passion, tamagun, ignorance, and what's goodness? Sattvagun, yes. There you go, that was my ignorance coming through, losing my memory. And actually it's explained in chapter 14, text 10, we can skip on a couple of verses. Or just read the translation. Krishna explains how these modes of material nature are acting upon the living entity. He says that sometimes the modes of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the mode of passion and ignorance, O son of Bharat. Sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way there is always competition for supremacy. One devotee is explaining that actually in this age that we're living in the age of Kali, it's more or less the two modes of material nature fighting for supremacy. We're very lucky if we're in the mode of goodness. Generally it's more the lower modes. in Kali Yuga, the modes of passion and the modes of ignorance. But we can actually, we can experience for ourselves how the modes are acting on us, even at different times of the day. So how many hours are there in the day? 24. And if you divide 24 by 3, what do you get? There you go. So we've had geography lesson, now we're doing some maths. So therefore it means that of those 8 hours of the day, 8, 8 and 8, then the different modes are prominent at particular times. So from midnight, 12 o'clock midnight till 8 o'clock in the morning, then the mode of goodness is more prominent. So people who get up really early in the morning, you'll find that generally things are very, very much more peaceful. If anyone here has a dog or takes dogs for walks, sometimes I go on an early morning Japa walk, and you meet dog walkers, and everything's very pleasant at that time in the morning, and people will generally say, "Good morning." And you say, "Good morning." People are quite pleasant, and the mode of goodness is things are more calm, things are more peaceful. But as soon as it gets to around 8 o'clock in the morning, what happens then? All the cars start going, everyone starts getting up, drinking their coffee, eating that. Some people, because then passion kicks in. And some people are so passionate in the morning they don't even have time to have a good breakfast. They'll just grab it on the go as they're leaving. They'll grab a cup of coffee, a slice of toast, get on the train or whatever. So then passion kicks in around 8 o'clock. It's not exactly like that, 1 minute to 8, everyone's in the mode of goodness. There's what's called sanjas, there's transition times, but you will notice it. And when you wake up tomorrow morning, you can see that around 8 o'clock, passion starts to kick in. And what do people do around 8 o'clock? They go to work. And why do people go to work? They go to work to earn money because they want to, spend the money to enjoy themselves. So this is the symptom of the mode of passion. So then around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then it turns to ignorance. So, in the evening hours, what are people generally engaged in? They're engaged in, maybe going to the pub. Some people who are really ignorant, they're in the pub at like 10 o'clock in the morning, as soon as the pub opens. You go to some of these small towns and there's nothing there to do in the town, so people are drinking from as soon as the pub opens. But generally in the evening hours, people are engaged in activities in the mode of ignorance. Like this. So from 4 o'clock in the afternoon through to 12 o'clock. So therefore the modes are acting upon the living entity at different times of the day. But according to our karma, or according to our conditioning, we're affected by the modes in different ways. And it is possible to transcend the modes entirely. So even when the modes are really fighting for supremacy, like we read in the verse 10, one can transcend them, and one isn't affected by those modes. So we're just going to explain a little bit how the modes act upon the living entities. So you can go to text 6, and we'll just read what Krishna says about the mode of ignorance. So he says, "O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge." And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that happiness that one feels in the mode of goodness is experienced because one knows that one is more or less free from sinful reactions. In other words, they know what is right, they know what is wrong, and therefore they act in the right way. Just like the simple example that if you're ignorant of the law, if you break the law, being ignorant of the law, like we've given the example before, if you go to France and you drive on the left-hand side of the road, then at worst you may crash, and you may even die, but a lesser punishment would be you'll be arrested by the police, maybe fined. So because we're ignorant of the law, therefore we break the law, and therefore we suffer. But in the mode of goodness, one is aware of what is right, what is wrong, and therefore one acts accordingly, and therefore one is more or less free from karmic reactions, sinful reactions. And there can be a tendency that one becomes proud of their knowledge, one is more knowledgeable. Like Krishna says that it is illuminating. So there's light, the opposite of light is darkness. So light is knowledge and darkness is ignorance. So then one becomes proud of their knowledge, and also generally those in the mode of goodness, they have a better standard of living, you know. So therefore, there's a certain type of happiness that comes from that. Can anyone think of any other symptoms of the mode of goodness? Cleanliness, yeah. Generally one who's situated in the mode of goodness, they're clean. It means they, you know, like the Brahmins, they take bath 3 times a day. And the symptom of the mode the symptom of a Brahmin is that they leave a place cleaner than when they went into it. So if you go into a place, you know, like you might go into the toilet and there's some toilet roll on the floor or the sink's a bit. A Brahmin cannot tolerate dirt, so they have to tidy like this. They tidy it all up. There's that program, Obsessive Compulsive Disorder Cleaners. I'm a little bit OCD actually. But therefore one is clean in the mode of goodness. Their external surroundings are clean, you know, their body's clean, the clothes they wear are clean, their thoughts are more pure. Any other symptoms of the mode of goodness?
Peaceful.
They're more peaceful. Yeah, they're more peaceful. And again, from, you know, being situated in knowledge, they know what is right and what is wrong, they know how to act accordingly. Anchor Chakra.
Their diet is, they like things in the mode of goodness. It's fatty, juicy, wholesome, pleasing to the heart. Vegetarian.
Yeah, they eat foods which are in the mode of goodness. Krishna explains, like grains, vegetables, fruits, milk products. They don't eat food which is putrefying or decomposing, as Krishna explains in the 17th chapter. They're more regulated, you know. They rise early in the morning, they go to bed earlier. You know, someone who's in the mode of ignorance, they'll sleep much later. We'll explore that later on. They're more dutiful, you know, they know what is to be done and they'll do it. So this is the mode of goodness. And then text 7 is the mode of passion. Okay, the mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. So one becomes conditioned to fruitive actions in the mode of passion. And Prabhupada explains that, you know, the mode of passion is characterized by the attraction between a male and a female, or a female and a male. There's one nice prayer by Rupa Goswami. He said, he's praying to Krishna, he said, just as the minds of young boys are attracted to the minds of young girls, and as the minds of young girls are attracted by the minds of young boys, he said, similarly, may my mind become attracted to you. Does a boy have to, you know, learn at school how to become attracted to a girl? No, it's natural. The same for a girl or a boy. You know, at a particular age, that it doesn't manifest itself. You know, when you're really young, boys can't stand girls. You know, if you put a boy with a girl, they just, you know, because girls want to play with their dolls and the boys want to play football and they just think the girls are just annoying. And the girls think the boys are just stupid. What is it? Snails and puppy dog tails. Girls are made of sugar and spice and all things nice, and boys are slugs and snails and puppy dog tails or something like that. But as they become a little bit older, as they become, you know, they enter into youth, then that natural attraction between boys and girls starts to develop. You don't need to learn that at school. So, this is the symptom of the mode of passion. And then Prabhupada says that when passion develops, hankering for material enjoyment increases. One just wants to be happy, and therefore one gratifies the senses in any means possible. Prabhupada explains to the purport that a man, he wants honour in society and in his nation. He wants to have a happy family, a nice wife and a nice children, and to achieve this he works very, very hard. So this is the symptom of the mode of passion, is that one works really, really hard. Like we said, at 8 o'clock in the morning everyone starts going to work. Why? Because they want to get the fruits of their activities, which is money, and then they're going to spend on money on gratifying the senses. So therefore one works very, very hard, but one is also very attached. The mode of goodness, one may also work very hard, but they act as a matter of duty, not because they're attached to the results of their activities. And then we'll come again to today's verse, number 8, we'll read it again, and this is the mode of ignorance. O son of Barrett, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So ignorance, the mode of ignorance binds one to madness. And Prabhupada said, or Krishna says it is the delusion of the embodied being. So delusion is a belief which is held with strong conviction despite strong evidence to the contrary. So in other words, we're deluded into thinking that we're this body. We don't realise that we're the soul. We often give the example of being, different. Consciousness is different from the body. So there's so much evidence to show that we're not the body. The body's changing all the time. Yesterday, my wife, she pointed out that I had a white hair in my sika. More and more every day I look in the mirror now, I'm starting to notice more and more white hairs on my chest, and white hairs on my beard, white hairs on my head. I say that's a sign of wisdom. But actually it's a sign of getting old, The body's getting older. So the body's changing all the time, but we still remain the same. On Saturday when we went out on the Sacred Street Party, I was showing someone the picture. Usually when I try and sell someone a Bhagavad Gita, I show them the pictures. I say that, what is it they say? A picture can say 1,000 words. So there's one nice picture in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's a picture of, I can't seem to find it now, but it's a picture of the soul transmigrating, or the body getting older and older and older, and the soul passing through the body. So I usually ask someone, where are you on here? So they can point at where they are in the picture. And then I usually point at the guy who's going slightly over the hill, and I say, yeah, that's me, I'm losing my hair now. But I was there a few moments ago, and you point to the boy. I point to the young boy playing with the ball, and I say, but I was there just a few moments ago. It goes quickly, doesn't it? And people, they say, yeah. So the woman on Saturday, I asked her, I said, where are you on here? And she said, I'm here, but I feel like I'm here. And she pointed to the young boy or the young girl. And I said, yeah, that's very intelligent, because there's a difference between who we are and the body. The body's changing all the time, but we're not the body. So therefore, even though the body changes every 7 years and the body's getting older all the time, we still feel like we're in the same spirit of youth. We may not physically be able to do those things anymore, but we still feel, and that's because the soul, by its very nature, is timeless. It's eternal. It doesn't grow old. It's not subject to birth and death. That's just the material body. So therefore, we're delusional. We're holding on to this conception that I am the body. Right? And even as devotees, we may know, at least theoretically, that we're not the body. But still, how many times a day do we act to gratify the body and the mind? Personally speaking, pretty much everything I do is just, motivated by this desire to gratify my body, my mind, and my senses. So therefore, I haven't really fully understood that I'm not the body. So therefore, that's called delusional or madness. So therefore, it conditions one to madness, indolence, and sleep. Indolence is a kind of an old-fashioned word. Does anyone know what indolence means?
Laziness.
Laziness, yeah. I only knew because I looked it up in the Bhagavad Gita, laziness. So, Prabhupada says in this purport that ignorance is the opposite of the mode of goodness. So we said the mode of goodness is characterized by knowledge. It's illuminating. So therefore, the mode of ignorance puts one in ignorance. It takes away one doesn't understand what is to be done. And therefore, Prabhupada said, therefore, instead of becoming elevated, one becomes degraded. So I was thinking of just some mundane examples to think how we become degraded by the mode of ignorance. So I'm going to ask for a show of hands now. So who here has ever looked at themselves in the mirror and thought, I would like to get fit? And start going to the gym and going for runs and going swimming and, living and eating a healthy diet, not eating that extra sweet, or cutting down on cheese. So we've all thought like that, where at some point I'd like to get fitter. Now I'm going to ask for a show of hands again. Who here, knowing that they need to change their diet, knowing that they need to go to the gym, and knowing that they need to get fit and healthy, ignores that good advice and doesn't bother cutting down on cheese, doesn't bother going to the gym, doesn't bother doing exercise? Who's ever done that before? Put your hands up. Yeah, so that means that's a symptom of the mode of ignorance. So even though we know we're supposed to do something, we just can't be bothered. We're lazy. We procrastinate. Or, you can think of many examples. Give up smoking. Many people know that it's bad to smoke, but they can't give it up. When I was a student, I was smoking, and I couldn't give it up. But it was only when I started chanting Hare Krishna that I was able to give up smoking. Or, even sometimes we want to be more successful, or we want to save our money. I was reading a book the other day, one devotee by Sheshguru, he was speaking about a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And this is a book by an author, and it's about how to become, successful with your wealth. And it was and so the main point, and I listened to this, and I thought that I'd quite like to read that book. That would be an interesting book to read. And so I found the audio book online. So the point that the author was making, it's a whole novel, it's a whole story, and it's very cleverly done. But one of the main points he makes is that you have to save 10% of everything you earn. And you put it away. So the first 10% of your wealth you pay yourself. So in other words, you have to fork out for the bills and this and that, but you should put 10% of your earnings somewhere and you don't touch it, preferably in an account where it's going to earn some savings. So if you earn, let's say £2,000 a month, you take £200 before you've done anything, you take £200 a month and you put it in an account. And that money should then work for you, like this. So even, that's another thing. Sometimes people think, I want to save. But still, it's hard to save because you just, you squander your money on other things. So these are all symptoms of the mode of ignorance. Instead of becoming elevated, we become degraded. And then you can extend this onto the spiritual level, so that even though we know we should go to bed early so that we can rise early and we can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Still at night time, okay, it's 10 o'clock now, I should be getting into bed, but then your favourite television programme comes on, you think, just one more this or that, or whatever it is, or you get caught on YouTube, you can waste hours on YouTube, or whatever it is, still, so then you don't wake up early, you don't chant your rounds properly, or whatever it is. So the mode of ignorance degrades us rather than elevates us. And Prabhupada says that another symptom of the mode of ignorance, he says that even though one may see that their grandfather has died, let me actually read from the purport what Prabhupada says, 14.8. Yeah, so Prabhupada says, for example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died, and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die. So death is sure. Now listen, still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. That is madness. So again, it's like the same example we gave of the parrot in the cage. If you're only polishing the cage but you forget to feed the parrot, you've missed the whole point. So even though we know we're going to die, or the example that Bhakti Caitanya Swami gave on Sunday is, even though we know we're going to get kicked out of our body at some point, just like if you're going to have to leave your house at some point, he was given the example of Sharadiya Rasa and her friend E. They've been evicted, asked to leave. But if you don't, if you're going to be asked to leave your house, the intelligent thing to do is you make arrangements for your next house. You don't suddenly think, on the day I'm asked to leave, I'll deal with it then. I'll work out where I'm going to live next then. Who does that? No one does that. So you're there on the street with all of your stuff. My sister's just moved house at the moment. She just moved house last week, and I spoke to my mum on the way here. She's lost her voice completely because they've been working around the clock, day and night, trying to get everything in the house and then painting and getting carpets laid. So they've made so many arrangements to move house, but even so, it's hard still. They say that one of the most stressful things that you go through in life, the two things are moving house and dying. These are known as the two most stressful things in life. So therefore you make arrangements. So if you know that you're going to get kicked out of this body at some point, you're going to have to leave, it's not very intelligent to say, well, I'll deal with that situation when I come to it. And that's generally what we do. We don't like to think about death. We like the ostrich which buries its head in the sand. Some danger's coming, but it doesn't want to face the danger. Or like the rabbit, it closes its eyes, thinking I'll be okay now. When the car's racing towards it, just closes its eyes, And we're like that also sometimes in life, that when we're faced with problems, we just try and forget about it. And people forget about their problems with intoxication. They get drunk, they take drugs, or people go on shopping sprees, because it makes them feel better. We don't like to face up to the situation. But what's the biggest problem? At some point we're going to be kicked out of this material body. So therefore we should at least make some inquiries. Well, what's going to happen? When I get kicked out, where am I going to go? So Maharaj was given the example the other day that according to your qualification, if you've got enough money, you can move into a nice place. So if we cultivate our spiritual consciousness at the time of death, if one is fully Krishna conscious at the time of death, one goes back to the spiritual world, one goes back to Krishna. But if one doesn't have enough credit, one has to keep coming back against this material world. So Prabhupada said this is madness, that even though we know we're going to get kicked out, we're not interested in spiritual life. Or even if we are, we just procrastinate and think, yeah, I'll deal with it in a few years' time. He gave the example that if you've been 4 years at university and you haven't been to any lectures, you haven't read any of the books, you haven't done any of the little tests throughout the year, when you come to take your final exams, how are you going to do? Do you think I'm just going to cram for 1 week and get it all done? No, it's ridiculous. No one passes their exams like that. Or if they do, they're very few. That's not the general way to do it. So therefore, but this is what madness does. It means that we don't even think about it. So therefore, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was asked, what is the most amazing thing? We quote this verse many times, but it's a great verse. He said, Ahanyahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam sheshastavanam ichanti kim aischarim ataparam. He said, every second, hundreds of millions of living entities are going to the kingdom of death. People are dying at every second, but yet no one, it said that those who remain here aspire for a permanent situation. In other words, no one thinks they're going to die, even though they're surrounded by death. What can be more amazing than this? So this is a symptom of the mode of ignorance. We're not caring for the eternal spirit. Prabhupada says we are lazy. And in fact, this is one of the symptoms of the mode of the age of Kali Yuga. This is Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 10. Prayena payusa shabha kala vasmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda pagya hupadruta. O learned one. Now listen to this very carefully. I'm going to read out some of the symptoms of the mode of the age of Kali Yuga. And you can see if you recognize yourself in any of these qualifications or symptoms. O learned one, in this age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Put your hands up if you recognise yourself in any of those qualities. Does anyone disagree? That means you're quarrelsome, if you're quarrelling with me. That's one of the symptoms. And if you couldn't be bothered to put your hand up, that means you're lazy. So, everyone's got these symptoms. We're quarrelsome, we have short lives. You know, we're lucky, you know, the most you can live in Kali Yuga is 100 years. You may find one or two that live older, but for the most part, 100 years, that's it. You get your telegram from the Queen, that's it. But, you know, the average male life expectancy is about 67, something like that. Women is slightly older. But short lives, we're quarrelsome, we're lazy, and we're lazy materially, but we're especially lazy spiritually. You know, even though we've been given this process, you know, a simple process that we just simply chant Hare Krishna, we offer our food to Krishna, we read Bhagavad Gita, we do a little service for Krishna, still we're so lazy we can't be bothered to do it. We're misguided, we're unlucky, and above all, we're always disturbed. And if you ever find a time when you're not disturbed, then you start to become disturbed, because you think, hang on, everything's going okay here, this can't be right, you know? Something's going to happen in a minute, you know? This is too good to be true, you know? So we're always disturbed. The mind's always thinking of something, you know? Always. So these are the symptoms. We're lazy. You know, we're not interested in spiritual life. But we have to transfer our intelligence to inquiring into the absolute truth and to acting accordingly. So then Prabhupada says that one of the symptoms of the mode of ignorance is that one sleeps too much. Now, this is quite interesting. Prabhupada says, another symptom of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than is required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient. But in a man in the mode of ignorance, sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. I'm not going to ask, you know, how long everyone sleeps for. But this is an interesting point. When I moved into the ashram, I was trained to sleep 6 hours. And, you know, and I slept, and, you know, even sometimes less, but on average 6 hours a day. And I slept like that for many years. Nowadays, sometimes, because I'm not always so regulated in going to bed at the right time, and sometimes I'll sleep more, and, you know, sometimes I'll sleep less because I have to get up early, but, you know, I haven't gone to bed at the right time. So this is interesting. I've got this book here, Little Oxford Dictionary of Proverbs. Before I became a devotee, I had a book of Proverbs. And when I joined the temple, I thought, I threw away everything that I thought I'm never going to need again. So I threw away my book of Proverbs. And then years later, I regretted it, thinking, oh, that would have been really good, because there's so many nice Proverbs which we can use when we're trying to teach Krishna consciousness. There's a lot of wisdom in these ancient Proverbs. So one year, for my birthday, my dad asked me what did I want for my birthday, and I said, I want the book of Proverbs. So I got this book of Proverbs, and today, I was looking in my book of Proverbs and I came across some Proverbs about sleep. So this is really interesting. So, okay, now listen to this. But according to Ayurvedic understanding and Ayurvedic medicine, if you sleep before 9 o'clock, each hour is worth 2 hours. And after midnight, it is less. You know? So if you go to bed at 9 o'clock, then you'll get a good night's sleep. But then I found out that an English proverb is 1 hour's sleep before midnight is worth 2 after. So even if it's in the English proverb, it's mid-17th century. Now this is another one, this is an early 17th century English proverb. Now this is in relation to 6 hours. Prabhupada says 6 hours. And I always thought that was just like, you know, the Vedic thing, we're supposed to sleep 6 hours. But listen to this. 6 hours sleep for a man, 7 for a woman, and 8 for a fool.
I've heard this before.
So that's an early 17th century English proverb. 6 hours sleep for a man, 7 for a woman, 8 for a fool.
Everybody.
I won't ask who's sleeping for 8 hours, what to speak of more. Now listen to this. This one is an American proverb, mid-20th century. Some sleep 5 hours, nature requires 7, laziness 9, and wickedness 11. Isn't that interesting? So this knowledge actually was there. Some sleep 5 hours, nature requires 7, laziness 9, and wickedness 11. Now, we just want to clarify this a little bit. Of course, you know, everyone is different, and some people do require more sleep than others. But the point is that we should sleep only enough to keep the body and soul together. Because for a devotee, it's said that sleep is like death. Because while we're sleeping, we're not conscious of Krishna, unless we're very elevated and maybe we're dreaming of Krishna. So we're missing out on times when we could be, engaging in Krishna service. Prabhupada, some of the devotees in the early days, they were saying, Prabhupada, we don't have time to chant our rounds. Prabhupada said, sleep less. But we're more likely to cut down on other things. Prabhupada said, sleep less. So there you go, 6 hours. Now, another interesting point we just wanted to bring in is that we spoke about the different symptoms of the different modes. So according to your activities, you can see what modes you're in. So if you're sleeping too much, you know you're in the mode of ignorance. If you're working really, really hard, but you don't have enough time to do your sadhana, then that's the mode of passion. If you're too much happy, maybe you're happy as a devotee, you don't want to go out and preach and share it with others. Maybe you're too much in the mode of goodness. I'm okay, No, we have to, try and share it with others. But so interestingly, according to your activities, you can see what type of mode you're in. But on the other hand, if you change your activities, you can change the way the modes affect you also. So for instance, if you are too much in the mode of ignorance, try going to bed a bit earlier and try waking up earlier, and that will automatically put you in a higher mode of nature. So change your activities. Wake up and the first thing you do in the morning is you have a shower. You get clean. Then again, it puts you in the mode of goodness. First thing you do in the morning, before you go on Facebook, you make a vow and you say, no, I'm going to have a shower and I'm going to chant my 16 rounds before I do anything else. Okay, Facebook isn't going to go away. My however many friends I've got are still going to be there. It's not urgent that I answer this Facebook message just now. Let me put Krishna first. Then deal with the other things later. So if we change our activities, we will change the modes of material nature we're in. And Prabhupada says, Krishna says, chapter 14, again, text 20, when the embodied being is able to transcend these 3 modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So even in this lifetime, we will become happy, more peaceful, if we can transcend these modes of material nature. So how do we transcend the modes of material nature? And you can turn to text 26. Krishna tells us, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatijaitam brahma puyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So by engaging in devotional service, one automatically transcends the modes. By engaging in the process of sadhana bhakti, vaidhi sadhana bhakti, making a vow that I'm going to chant my rounds today, even if my mind or the modes of material nature are telling me to do something else, even if my mind is telling me to stay up and watch this film or whatever when it's time to go to bed. No, transcend it. When you go to bed, going to sleep is also devotional service. If we're in the consciousness that I'm going to now rest for 6 hours to rest my body so that my body is fit and healthy to serve Krishna tomorrow, then your sleep becomes devotional service. So by taking shelter of Krishna, and this is the last verse we're going to quote, we're going to finish this now. If you go to chapter 7, text 14, because the point is that it's hard, it's not easy to do this, to transcend the modes of material nature. We need to take shelter of a higher power. So Krishna says, chapter 7, text 14, Daivyesha gunamayi mama maya durachaya mam evye prapajante mayamitam tarantite. Krishna acknowledges, he says, this divine energy of mine, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, it's difficult to overcome. It is difficult. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that the gunas, the modes of material nature, are called the 3 gunas. But another definition of guna is rope. So these 3 modes of material nature, they're bound as like rope in this material world. So when one is bound by rope, one cannot free oneself. But if you take shelter of someone who isn't bound, then they can untie you. So by taking shelter of Krishna, who is not conditioned by the modes of material nature, he is ever free from the modes of material nature. By taking shelter of Krishna, Krishna, out of his paternal affection for the conditioned soul, he orders the release of the conditioned soul from the insurmountable energy of Maya. So by taking shelter of Krishna, one transcends these modes of material nature. So sometimes when the modes are fighting for supremacy and they're really attacking you, you just have to say, putting your hands in the air. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki, Nitai Guru Pramanande. So, just before we do a little kirtan, does anyone have any reflections? Before we do questions, we want some reflections. So that means something you've heard in the class, which has struck a chord, something that really caught... Yes, Sharadir, Marissa.
I was just thinking about the example, but those who are surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Just like the ocean of birth and death. It's insurmountable.
Yes.
How can a helpless jiva cross such a perilous condition? And then, when we surrender to the Supreme Personality, that entire ocean is described, that it becomes as small as the amount of water contained in a calf's hoofprint. So surrender is that powerful. Not surrender to anyone, but surrender to Krishna.
Very nice, thanks for sharing. Because sometimes it just seems hopeless, doesn't it? Sometimes we think, oh, well, I just haven't got a chance. But just by the very process of surrendering to Krishna, okay, Krishna, you please help me, then automatically the ocean of material nescience becomes as small as the water contained in the hoofprint of a calf, and you can easily cross beyond it. And we're having to surrender all the time anyway, because either we surrender to our mind and senses, we surrender to Maya, or we surrender to Krishna. But the result of surrendering to Maya is that we just become disturbed and agitated and we suffer. But the result of surrendering to Krishna means that one becomes free from all anxieties. And ultimately one goes back home, back to Godhead. One can enjoy nectar even in this life. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else have any other reflections? Bev?
Just when you were talking about sleeping the 6 hours, what I've found is if I do the right things as I go through the day and don't procrastinate, and I've done everything that I'm supposed to do, and I've been here and I've tried to do things in the mode of goodness, I do have a proper sleep, a deep sleep, a nice sleep, so I need less sleep.
Yes.
But if my mind's agitated and I've been in the mode of passion or the mode of ignorance, even if I have sort of 10 hours sleep, I'm still exhausted when I wake up.
Yeah, that's a really nice point, and I've experienced the same thing. I think we all have that. Actually, when we are leading a Krishna conscious lifestyle, then actually, we can survive on less sleep. But if you're affected by the modes of ignorance and passion, no matter how much sleep you have, you still wake up feeling tired. You've had 10 hours, then you wake up and you think, well, let me just have another hour. And the time will just fly by, and you don't wake up feeling any better, you feel actually worse. So that's a good point, that it's a lifestyle. We have to lead a Krishna conscious lifestyle. Thanks for sharing that, Bev. Jagannatheshwari, and then Ramai.
Just on the point where you mentioned, Srila Prabhupada said when devotees were saying we don't have enough time for our sadhana, and then he said sleep less. That's quite powerful actually, because I've experienced personally, like Bev was saying, I did actually sleep for about 5 hours, and I kept on doing the service I was doing, and I had an amazing day. So sleep wasn't affecting me at all, and it just went to show that if you do have less sleep and you keep on doing your service, you're fine. It's just a psychological thing that goes into the mind, where when I'm a fool, so that when I have my 8 hour of sleep, I still wake up, and I'm not satisfied, and it's just a mental frame of mind, so sleep is nothing.
Yeah.
If you think
No,
about
it's
it.
a good point because we're quite happy to do austerities of having less sleep for sense gratification, right? People will stay up all night clubbing and things like that. But you ask someone to stay up all night and chant Hare Krishna, oh no, I need to go to sleep, you know. But we're happy to do austerities, you know, for our own sense gratification. So that's a nice point. Thanks for sharing that, Jagannateshu. Ramai Prabhu, you had a reflection?
Yeah, on the same point, like, I personally experienced that many times, but recently over. When you say, I went to sleep very, very late, and then I had to wake up early, like about 2:30 in the morning, so that I did it. But I was thinking, oh, but when that happened, I wake up early, and then it was amazing. So when you finish early, go first, you have so much time in what to do. You chant around, and you finish it before everybody else, and then still have the whole day.
Yeah.
And everything goes so smoothly.
Yeah.
That's personally experienced.
Nice. And that's why another proverb is early to bed, early to rise, makes a man spiritually healthy, wealthy and wise. We inserted the spiritually. But that's a fact. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise. Good. Any other reflections? Julian?
Yeah, just when I moved here, in the upstairs, I've been just waking up early.
Nice.
Without any clock, alarm clock.
Wow.
Somebody just wakes me up, you know.
Wow, super soul.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and you do find that actually, that when you're really making, you know, you're pushing forward in your spiritual life, you know, you do just wake up without the alarm. You know, Krishna, from within the heart, the super soul, he wakes you up. Hey, time to wake up and chant my holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that is why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that we beat our minds with a stick 100 times in the morning and 100 times at night with a slipper. The devotees in the early days, they took this quite literally and they were beating themselves. And then another devotee explained what it means to beat your mind with the holy name. And they were disappointed because that was one of their favourite parts of the morning program. You know, some of the early days. But actually, as soon as you wake up, your mind is going to say, I need more sleep, or, you know, I'm tired, or I don't want to get up. So you have to immediately, as soon as you wake up, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Beat your minds. Jump in the shower, you know, like that. Get going. Don't give the mind an inch and it takes a mile. Prabhupada said that Maya, she is in like a needle and out like a plough. So you don't give the mind any room. Okay, last, I think, Julian, you had one more thing to say there?
It's a bit related to what you just said, you know, what I used to do, I do sometimes. When I don't want to stay in the bed, but want to rise up really quickly, I just count 1, 2, 3 and I jump.
Yes.
You know, and I cannot go to bed after that.
Yeah, you have to trick your mind. The mind is so tricky, you know. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, my dear mind, you are no Vaishnava. So the mind isn't going to give you good advice in this conditioned state. So you have to be one step ahead of the mind. And chanting and hearing sound, spiritual sound vibration keeps us one step ahead of the mind. So always keep one ahead of the mind. Jagannateshu?
So Atul Krishna's reflection is, my reflection in tonight's class is that I wish I could sleep 6 hours a night, but won't sleep at all tonight. Of the Caitanya Vallabha Prabhu mentioned the horrific nightmare scenario of cutting back on eating cheese. Joking aside, thank you for allowing me to join in. Horrible.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much, Atul Krishna Chaitanya, for who he's watching from his home back in Chester Street. Thank you so much for your reflection. And actually cutting down on our sleep, we can cut down in stages, you know. If we're having 8 hours of sleep just now, you know, for the next week, just try having 9 hours and 50, or, you know, 7 hours and 50 minutes. And then the next week, 7 hours and 40. So you can gradually reduce. Don't do it all at once. Thank you so much, Atul Prabhu, for sharing your realization. Let's have a Hare Krishna for everyone watching online. 1, 2, 3.
Hare Krishna!
Okay. Were there any questions? I thought Dhananjay might have had a question.
Well, in the verse you were explaining how those in the mode of ignorance are spiritually ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
And as obviously as we talk about those persons in the mode of passion, we understand that they're too busy. They're too busy working hard, playing hard to develop spiritual knowledge.
Yes.
But in verse 9, Srila Prabhupada says, the person in the mode of goodness is satisfied by his work and intellectual pursuit, like a philosopher, scientist, or educator. So it seems to me that perhaps even these type of people, they may still not really be developing any desire to become self-realized.
Mm-hmm.
To become knowledgeable in a spiritual way.
Yes.
They may be very knowledgeable philosophically or scientifically, but they still may be still in the position of the person in the mode of ignorance.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's a good point. Being in the mode of goodness isn't the goal. Because, like you said here, one becomes satisfied, one becomes happy, by cultivating knowledge, intellectual pursuit or philosophy, a scientist or an educator. But they're still not cultivating spiritual knowledge necessarily. So, but the point is that by adopting activities in the mode of goodness, these are beneficial for spiritual life, such as being clean, rising early, being regulated. But it's not the goal. The goal is that we act in the mode of ignorance, but for the pleasure of Krishna, like that. And then one comes to the platform of Vishuddhasattva, or transcendental goodness. So one also shouldn't be too attached to the mode of goodness, just like Yudhishthira. Krishna asked him, we all know the Mahabharata, Krishna asked him to tell a lie and say, Ashvatthama, the elephant is dead. And he was too much attached to the mode of goodness, and he said, I cannot tell a lie. And it's explained that because of that, he had to see hell. So actually, the real thing is to do what Krishna wants us to do. And therefore, in order to understand what Krishna wants us to do, we need to deeply study the Shastras like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and understanding the association of devotees. So that's a nice point. We shouldn't just be attached to the mode of goodness, but we should transcend it. But we can cultivate activities in the mode of goodness and habits in the mode of goodness because they are conducive for advancing spiritual life. Did you want to say anything else? Thanks for that, Dhananjay. Last one, ISKCON Newcastle.
You sort of kind of answered it, but sometimes we're not in good consciousness, and but does it still, Bhakti Yoga still take effect? Because sometimes it's like, I'm not in good consciousness, so I won't pay my obeisances, but then if you don't pay your obeisances, you'll never be in good consciousness.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? But sometimes it's like, what's the point in doing? Actually,
we shouldn't underestimate the power of devotional service. Because, in the early days, Garga Muni Prabhu, he said to Prabhupada, Swamiji at the time, he said, I do not want to bow down because I'm not feeling it. I don't want to bow down to Krishna and devotees. Therefore, I feel that devotional service, it should be voluntarily giving myself to Krishna. Therefore, it feels false. It feels like it's a facade if I'm just bowing down, even though I don't want to do it. And Prabhupada said, bow down and the feelings will come. So even if we're not feeling it, if we just engage in the activity of devotional service, it may take a little bit of time, but mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yoga sevate, by engaging in devotional service, one at once transcends the modes of material nature. So even if you don't feel like it, that's what the modes are saying, but you just do it anyway. This is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. You do it as a matter of duty, as a matter of regulation, as a matter of obedience to Krishna. This is what Krishna wants me to do. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. So nice point. Thank you. Okay, we're going to stop there. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Transcending the modes of material nature ki Jai. Jai. So we're going to ask Dhananjay Prabhu if he would like to come and chant Hare Krishna for maybe 15 minutes. We'll have 15 minutes of kirtan, and then we're going to have prasadam. Is that okay with everyone?
Hare
Krishna. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Pranandi. champion.